we seek and find God in all things. These are the mystical ways of connecting with the divine, to having an open and curious mind, and it's a surefire way to expand your consciousness. We are called to see God in all these things, and specifically to see God where we're in resistance. So go to those places where you're in resistance and really ask the Holy Spirit to give you a reinterpretation of the situation. Mastering that resistance brings us spiritual resilience. You are worthy of embodying spiritual resilience. Think about that. Think about who's the most resilient person that you know. Who do you know that's walked through fire and still manages to show up with a gentle smile, a compassionate heart, and a helpful hand? And if you figure out who that is, sit at their knee and soak up their audaciousness. For me, I think of Mother Teresa. I think of Mahatma Gandhi. I think of Martin Luther King. I think of Jesus Christ. I think of Buddha. You know, these people did not have an easy life, but they rose despite the scenario. That's spiritual resilience. Do not think for a minute that this and greater good shall you do. So if you were to bring that spiritual resilience into your ministry, imagine the glass ceilings you could bust open. And not just imagine it for yourself, but imagine those people that are waiting to be freed from the chains of their own illusions by your action of dedication to your divine. Like, that's who you're here to be. So Kurt Vonnegut once wrote, and I think this is an interesting thing because it just came up for me, and many of us are healers, teachers, practitioners, but also entrepreneurs, artists, So we kind of live in the world, but we also are in the divine, and we kind of ride the fence. So it's like, how do we do this and that? How do we collaborate them? How do we have this holy communion between our mission and our ministry? So Kurt Vonnegut, he once wrote that any creation which has any wholeness and harmoniousness was made by an artist or an inventor with an audience of one in mind. And as an entrepreneur, I've used this idea, this contemplation, of saying, how do I pay attention to my audience of one, my ideal client? If you're an entrepreneur, you might want to think about your ideal client. And personally, I've used this line of questioning to figure out who my ideal client is so that my branding, my words, everything is in greater alignment. I know who I serve and who I'm not here to serve. And maybe even times writing out a full-on description about who is my ideal client. Now, that's what I would do in business, right? But in the spiritual realm, that's a joke. Like, that's just sort of a joke. It's like almost a gimmick, that helps me to get some clarity, which is good. But in the spiritual realm, what I know is that my ideal client of one is God. And if I need to know a greater degree of my ideal client, then I just need to know God in a more intimate way. And if you don't know your God in an intimate way, then you're going to have a pretty blurry experience of life. Because really, in the end, it's just you and God. It's just you and love. Everything else here is just a teacher for us to keep us on course to that one relationship with God. When Jim talks about meditation, that's exactly what he's talking about. Going within so you can flesh out that experience of that union with your truest self, with your higher power. So today it's best if I let go into the mad whirling and swirling of God and simply enjoy the process and let everything else go. Let it fall away. Because when you're whirling towards that divine relationship in love, it's very hard to hold on to anything else. You become unattached, you become unhinged, you become unencumbered, and you become, yes, a bit disoriented. But losing your own direction, your little direction, your ego direction, is not a bad thing. We don't want to lose our own sense of direction because we think, I'll lose myself. But to lose yourself in love with God will put you on course towards things you didn't even know to ask for. So the idea is to say, I give my life for this guidance today, to really tap into this guidance. Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? In the 12th step, they talk about it in the 11th step. They say, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for its will for us and the ability to carry that out. Like, that's all we need to do is figure that thing out, And the more that we figure that thing out, we cause this groove of audaciousness. So when I say this morning to you, intentional audaciousness, which is what the title of the talk is, it's sort of like an oxymoron because you don't need to have intention with audacious. The only thing you need to intend is to be audacious in God. All your other intentions can be let go of. Surrendering all your will today so that you can be open to the thoughts of God. Give God your acts. I'll use the word love. Give love your acts and actions so that you can be open to the guidance and the brilliance of love. Step back in love. Think about intention. Intention means a thing that is intended or planned for or aimed at. And we often hear the pros and cons of intentions, like set your intentions, have an intentional life. And of course, yes, there's benefits to having intentions and setting intentions, but intention also means that you're going to set some sort of plan and aim and a clear idea for yourself. And I would suggest that most times you're underestimating the audaciousness of God. You set these little plans, like I'm going to do this and do that and do this and do that, and God's like laughing, like, really? Like that's nothing that I have planned for you? I have something so much better. So anytime you're ready to drop that mediocre script of yours, like we could get on with some really hot shit. Thank you so much for showing up. So when we're talking about intention, we're really talking about what we talk about is that consciousness that holds your dreams and desires. Yeah, build your consciousness. Yeah, expand your consciousness. You do that through forgiveness. You do that through working the simple principles of the St. Francis prayer. You know, be peace, be love, be faith. But really, when it comes to planting those seeds, like be open to direction in regards to the seeds that need to be implanted in your consciousness. Because again, like God has so many great intentions for you. So, we turn within, and when we hold this, another thing about intentions is that when we turn within and we hold this idea or this plan that we have, we hold it in tension. We're literally in tension. We're experiencing manifestation from a tension. We don't want to manifest from tension. We want to manifest from fluidity, from joy. It's the difference between manifesting from this, I need that chair, that guy, that job, to thy will be done, man. Let's just roll. This is really scary. Do not get me wrong. Remember the last time we saw this pose? It didn't look good. But what was killed off created an opportunity for a greater good to be experienced by everyone. And that's the same for you. Your ego will be killed off so that a greater good will be experienced from the vortex of you and your awesomeness that doesn't just benefit you, but benefits everyone you come in contact with. Why wouldn't you want to hop on that train? Can I get an amen? So, because the alternative is an alternative altar. We're creating alternative altars. And if we're feeling tension with our alternative altars, we can get a real clear insight that this is not for us. Pray the prayer of God, let me let it go. There is no reason for me to manifest in tension. I am about manifesting in love. And love has no tensions. So that's a beginner class to manifesting. Now, if you're there manifesting in that place of tension, that's okay. Like, no blame, no shame. I'm just telling you what's an opportunity that's a bit higher than that. If you want to play around with that, the law of attraction, we talk about it all the time. The law of attraction is a really powerful tool to have in your toolkit. If you haven't mastered it, I'm sure you all have. If you've ever manifested a parking space or like a raise, you've figured it out, you know? Change your thoughts, change your life, you know, be open to. But if you figure that out, like, see if you can drop that. It's almost like a circus trick. Like, see if you can drop that illusion and move into reality with God. You know, where you stop telling God where to go, what to do, and what to say, and start just living in the audaciousness of God. So in the end, there's no real benefit to manifesting via intention or tensions when you have the opportunity of exploring the grand plan of God. And if we want to experience intentional audaciousness, you got to set those intentions of just being of service to love. So being intentional with love means to saying, let me be peace here. Let me be loving here. Let me be the one that pardons this. Let me be the bigger guy to pardon this. Let me have faith here and demonstrate faith. Let me be the one who brings hope to this dark situation in this dark hour. Let me be the one that shows up in joy. You know, let me be the one to console. Let me be the one to understand. Let me be the one to extend. Let me die to my smallness and live in my audaciousness. And then say with conviction, this is my only intention, is my love with my divine, my audience of one. And I'm destined to be audacious with God. Audacious means fearless. Isn't that beautiful? It means fearless. It means unrestrained. To be in audaciousness means to be untethered and beyond what you even knew you could be capable of. Awesome. So when we say the word awesome, I like to use the word awesome. You know, yes, it's overused. You know, but it's what it means is this active, inspiring awe. When's the last time you experienced awe, or allowed yourself to experience awe, or allowed yourself to witness awe? You know, a feeling of reverence is what awe is, a feeling of respect, a feeling of wonder. To be awe-inspired means that you're cultivating this art of living in awe and wonder and appreciation. And this is one simple step that can be the very thing that opens the door to greater good in your life. So that's it. To be in awe will open the door to conversations and synchronicities that will bring you into a greater awareness of more awe and more awe and more, until you're literally studying who you are, and then you cannot help but have it wash over you, seek into every crevice of your being, and have you be an embodiment of that which you're seeking. That's what it means to wake up. You know, to be an embodiment of it. No longer studying these sacred texts, but embodying them. That's the difference between looking at the ocean and being neck deep. You know, and being like, woo! Rumi says, there's a voice that doesn't use words. Listen. Listen to that inner voice. It knows you, it loves you, it delights in you. Listen to the music of your divine and learn to dance with the music unapologetically. And like those beautiful whirling dervishes who dance for that audience of one, that one love, that one God, that right there is intentional audaciousness. When you're doing your thing, like when you're playing your music, Kimmy, when you're playing your music, like really allow yourself to, and I know you do, or else you wouldn't be as audacious as you are. And all of us, you know, really allow yourself to plug into that divine energy that wants to light you up like you've never been lit up before. You know, Sarah, when you go and do that work with all those beautiful people who are looking for a compassionate soul with your kind of consciousness, like really let your divine step forward in you, lighting up every room and healing by just your fucking presence. Like you're that audacious. You know, all this permission slip that you went after gives you the courage to do what you're here to do, but God has already given you the noble nod. God has already preordained you for this. So let all of that fear, that weird, you know, wondering, is this right or am I right for this? Let it fall away, because nobody gets anywhere by mistake. You know, you can stand in the power of who you are, especially when you know you're of service. So anything that comes from it, anything that comes from that audacious power will come with the ability to heal, with the ability to be helpful, and the ability to make happy. Course in Miracles says to make happy means to heal, and to heal means to make happy. Isn't that great? So, allow yourself to whirl and swirl in the happy love of your divine.